Apologies, we'll have to get through this quick, I think. Not a lot of space on my phone. We were at Hexagram 53, Gradual Progress, reading through that in James de Corn's Gnostic Book of Changes. The marriage of a young lady illustrates an important event which takes place according to various preliminary steps which must be correctly done in an orderly sequence. So must it be with the advance of a man in the service of the state. The Confucian editors say a tree springing up on the ground is a tree as it begins to grow. A tree on a hill is high and large. Every tree, when it begins to grow, shows its branches and twigs gradually becoming long. Every morning and every evening show some difference, and when the tree is high and great, whether it be of an ordinary or extraordinary size, it has taken years to reach its dimensions. Added commentary. Blofeld appends the following footnote to each line in this hexagram. It is easier to read it here as his general commentary. The additional Chinese commentaries explain that the wild goose is a bird which moves toward the sun. Now, a commonly used Chinese term for the sun is yang, namely the male principle. So the bird obviously betokens a maiden seeking a husband. Its movement from riverbank to rock, dry land, a tree, a hillock, and the mainland, which is said in one commentary to mean peninsula, signifies gradual movement in an unchanging direction. From the point of view of divination, this is the best course for us, even if marriage is not our objective. Regarding marriage, the first line betokens gossip, although the marriage is not unsuitable. The second, a materially successful marriage. The third, an unfortunate marriage. The fourth, marriage to someone exceedingly kind and thoughtful. The fifth, a blissful marriage. The sixth, marriage to a public figure who has some responsibility for good order within the realm and who succeeds in his task. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. The proper union of forces within the psyche is a matter of slow maturation. The superior man maintains his will and transforms the psyche. Example is the school of mankind, and they will learn at no other. A quote from Burke. This is one of the most hierarchical of the hexagrams. Each line represents a clear advance from the position of the preceding line, thus giving an image of gradual progress. The vehicle of this progression is the wild goose, which also appears in every line. A goose is a bird, primarily a creature of the air or realm of thought, but because it also thrives on either water or land, the goose symbolizes thought, which permeates the lower two categories of consciousness: emotion, water, and sensation, earth. A quote from E.C. Whitmont in The Symbolic Quest. Another traditional interpretation of the goose motif is that of the universal aspect of the soul. The wild goose is able to move about everywhere, on firm land, in water, and in the air. It is the bird of Hermes, who is the leader of souls. The progress of the goose is a gradual one from the shore or threshold of awareness in line 1 to the mountain heights or realm of the spirit in line 6. The fact that this progress is linked with the idea of marriage in the judgment is a clear hint that we are dealing here with the idea of the union of opposites within the psyche. See commentary on hexagram number 11. The message is unambiguous. The process of psycho-spiritual growth is one of slow maturation. There are no shortcuts to enlightenment. A quote from Swedenborg in Arcana Coelestia. Evils and falsities must be removed, to the intent that a new life, which is the life of heaven, may be implanted. This can in no wise be done hastily, for every evil enrooted with its falsities has connection with all evils and their falsities, and such evils and falsities are innumerable, and their connection is so manifold that it cannot be comprehended. From this it is plain that the life of hell in man cannot be suddenly destroyed, for if it were suddenly done, he would straightway expire, and that the life of heaven cannot be suddenly implanted, for if this were done suddenly, he would also expire. And next we will read Changing Line 4 in our primary hexagram 33, Withdrawal, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading. Changing Line 4 is the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Hexagram 33, Changing Line 4. Leg. The fourth line dynamic shows its subject retiring, notwithstanding his likings. In a superior man, this will lead to good fortune. An inferior man cannot attain to this. Wilhelm/Bain's voluntary retreat brings good fortune to the superior man and downfall to the inferior man. Lou, voluntary retreat is good fortune for the superior. Yeah, we read that. Ritsuma/Karcher, loving, retiring, a Chun-Tzu or chief son or superior person, significant. Small people obstructing. Slofnacy, good wielding, for the gentleman auspicious, for the little man negative. Clary 1, a superior person who withdraws well is fortunate, an inferior person is not. Clary 2, developed people who withdraw in the right way are fortunate, petty people are not. Wu, to retreat from what he is fond of is easy for the Junsi, or chief son or superior person, but not so for a little man. Commentary, Confucius/Lake, a superior man retires notwithstanding his likings. An inferior man cannot attain to this. Wilhelm/Baines, the superior man retreats voluntarily. This brings downfall for the inferior man. Blofeld, for when, quite rightly, the superior man withdraws, lesser men are bound to suffer. Ritsuma/Karcher, a Chun-Tzu or chief son or superior person, lovingly retiring, small people obstructing indeed. Clary 2, developed people withdraw well, petty people do not. Wu, the Chun-Tzu uses retreat to his advantage, but the little man doesn't. Leg, line 4 has a proper correlate in the magnetic first line, but as 4 is the first line in the upper trigram of strength, he is free to exercise his choice. Notes and paraphrases. Su, the man withdraws despite his desire to do otherwise. The superior man can retreat in a friendly way, adjusting to the situation and retaining his convictions. The inferior man is unable to do so. To do this. Wing, if you recognize the moment for retreat, be certain that you do so with the proper attitude, that is, willingly. In this way, you will adjust easily and progress in your new environment. Those who are filled with emotional turmoil during withdrawal will suffer greatly. Editor, psychologically interpreted, to retire notwithstanding one's likings is to exercise willpower over an inferior impulse for the good of the work. The image suggests that you have the requisite strength to do this. It is a truism that when positive libido is withdrawn from something, unsupported inferior forces must wane. A quote from Katha Upanishad. The good is one thing, the pleasant another. These two, having different objects, chain a man. It is well with him who clings to the good. He who chooses the pleasant misses the end. James de Corn breaks changing line 4 down into one succinct definition. Despite your desires, abandon your proposed plan of action. To ignore temptation strengthens the will and robs weakness of its power. Now we will get the secret hexagram of the reading from Benabel Wynn's I Ching the Oracle. To do so, we read our lines 2, 3, and 4 from our primary hexagram and 3, 4, and 5 from our supporting hexagram. So it would be broken, solid, solid, which is Xun, wind, or wood, below solid, broken, solid, which is Li, fire, and light. So Xun, wind, or wood, below Li, fire, and light. That's illumination. I think that's the illumination hexagram. What did we say here? Broken, solid, solid, bottom. Xun, wind, or wood, below Li, fire, and light is 50. And we'll get the title to it from Lu Yiming's Taoist I Ching. The Cauldron, Refining Illumination. Wow. Hexagram 50, the Cauldron, in Benabel Wynn's I Ching the Oracle. The Cauldron, Oracle. You are in the developmental phase. Nourish the inner temple. At issue is the alchemy for nurturing talent and virtue so that there may be progress, innovation, and success. That alchemy, however, is reserved exclusively for the worthy.
What is needed right now for you to prevail in your endeavor is a personal catharsis. Greater nourishment is needed. Bring forth offerings of sustenance to both the inner temple and to the outer temple of the gods. Be sure to cleanse and purge the cauldron thoroughly of its grime before you cook with it. Good fortune and favors bestowed upon the one who first purifies, then alchemizes. I did a ritual cleansing in the river right before this. I'm still rivered. Supreme good fortune and favors from heaven. You embark upon a direct and straight path to higher rank. Go forth, focused and steady, in alignment with the divine command, and find your destiny. In Wu-Xing alchemical principles, wood creates and empowers fire. Fire corresponds with the alchemical process of synthesis, integration, assimilation, and illumination. Kindling from the challenges you've overcome now, light the fire, empowering you to shine. The sage will inspire the people to serve in accordance with their capacity, as ordained by fate. Or so goes the Confucian commentary appended to Hexagram 50. Moreover, the sage must now complete the mission. The sage's mission, heaven's will, is the sage's will. Bringing peace and prosperity to the people is the sage's destiny. To unceasingly cultivate knowledge and wisdom is in the sage's nature. This is the developmental phase. The fire is burning upon the gathered wood, and the cauldron is ready. Offerings of sustenance are given to both the inner temple for personal nourishment and the outer temple of the gods, to carry forth the will of the gods. Nurture your talent and virtue to initiate great progress, innovation, and success. Cultural significance of the cauldron. The cauldron is an alchemical vessel of great cultural and spiritual significance. The myths begin with the Yellow Emperor forging in 2697 to 2597 BC, forging 3 precious tripod cauldrons representing heaven, earth, and humanity forged from copper. Yu the Great cast 9 tripod copper cauldrons that the Xi dynasty, 2100 to 1600 BC, passes on to the Shang. And when the Zhao defeat the Shang, the 9 cauldrons pass on to the Zhao. That's when he attained the mandate of heaven. The 9 cauldrons represented the mandate of heaven and were an insignia of imperial authority. By the time of the Qin, the 9 cauldrons were lost. According to legend, they were washed away and consumed by a river during a flood. Cauldrons were used to cook the food that would be given as offerings to ancestral spirits. Incense burners for shrines and altars are commonly in the shape of a cauldron. Hexagrams 49 and 50. Whereas the theme of Hexagram 49 was descent and a reform or to revolution of a systematic social order, Hexagram 50 expresses the events after the regime change. We just were talking about a regime change in 2 readings ago. And I was reading about that in the beginning of this. Hexagram 50 is restoration and reconstruction of what the descent had destroyed. This is a developmental phase and the building of new foundations. Establishing a new order after dismantling an old one is much harder than the dismantling process of revolution itself. Thus, after revolution, the hard part begins, having to design and build a new structure that will be better than what pre-existed. We will get a randomly card-drawn chapter from the Tao Te Ching while we attempt to sum this puppy up. So our primary hexagram, 33, Withdrawal, has Gen Mountain beneath Qian Heaven. And as hard as that mountain reaches up to heaven, it can only get so far. And heaven contains any mountain, no matter how tall, beneath it and within it. Let's read Hillary Barrett for this really quick because she had something that stood out to me in both. So she says, retreat for withdrawal. Key questions. What must you do to stay safe and whole? How can you change your relationships so they support your integrity? Oracle. Retreat, creating success. Constancy yields a small harvest. The old Chinese character for retreat shows a pig in footsteps on the road. Perhaps this pig is running away so as not to be eaten. Retreat means withdrawing from what can harm you or what might swallow you up. It is a way to keep yourself whole. So retreating creates success. It is not defeat, but the way to avoid defeat, like an army that falls back and stays intact. When you retreat, you hide yourself away. You might disappear into the landscape altogether so that you will not lose yourself. Retreat moves away from threats and towards wholeness and integrity. It is a way to be constant to principle and to yourself by paying less attention to immediate results. The army that is loyal to a longer-term objective will retreat in good order rather than linger to gather spoils. The hermit, constant to the truth he perceives, withdraws from society into an inner space. He is not interested in claiming tangible rewards. Such constancy, offering no resistance and creating no friction, bears fruit in small, inconspicuous ways. The mountain stands firm and still and seems to be joined more with heaven than with earth. The noble one who retreats up the mountain shares this character, staying close to what inspires. He is naturally distanced from what would diminish him. This happens through respect and without hostility, because to hate something is to take the ugliness you perceive into your heart. Sequence. Retreat follows from hexagram 32 lasting. They cannot last long in the place where they settle, and so retreat follows. Retreat means withdrawing. Perhaps you must retreat from your settled place before you are overrun. Perhaps there comes a time when pattern and routine begin to absorb you completely, so you withdraw before your individuality is subsumed. Pair. Retreat forms a pair with hexagram 34, great vigor. Great vigor means stopping. Retreat means withdrawing. Sometimes you can take a stand and hold your position. Sometimes you need to move away. This makes me think of David. He was anointed king, and Saul got really, really pissed off because he was the rightful king at the time, but not the anointed king by God, or the passing of the mandate of heaven, right? That kind of an idea. What was interesting, I noted in my notes, there was a word that was misspelled. And then I highlighted it, and it wanted to it's acquainted. I spelled it wrong. I spelled it A-Q-O-I-N-T-E did. Did. A-Q-O-I-N-T-E-D. And when I highlighted it to see if I could change it, it said it wanted to offer the selection of anointed. So that stands out to me. It's right where I was reading this. All under heaven had an origin considered as the world's mother. When you get anointed, but acquainted with the mother, so when you get anointed with the mother, you will accordingly know her child. When you know her child, you will repeatedly protect the mother. To the end, yourself will not be in danger. Stop your pleasant words, shut your gate. To the end, yourself will not struggle. Start your pleasant words, further your affairs. To the end, yourself will not be saved from wrong. Okay, so that's interesting. And then 53, gradual progress has Gen Mountain beneath. Wow. What? Yeah, Gen Mountain beneath Xun Winder Wood. So this is a tree growing atop a mountain. And it's a really long gradual process, and it takes a long time for the tree to have its leaves, like the birch, over many seasons, fertilize the soil so that vegetation can grow, in that instance with the birch tree. And in the situation with the tree atop a mountain, it takes a while for it to get really tall. No matter how tall it gets, it takes a while to get there. So it's just a matter of gradual progress. It also is talking about a marriage situation in which gradual progress is needed for the two to come together. It also could be looked at internally as in alchemy. So here we have a withdrawal and kind of an understanding of the difference between tall mountains and the sky, or Kuion heaven, and gradual progress. And in the withdrawal, it doesn't mean defeat. It just means, usually in certain situations in the I Ching, a withdrawal which might seem inauspicious is actually auspicious because it's the right timing for the retreat. So maybe this is a situation where there is a retreat is necessary, and to kind of just blend into the background, until basically the enemy falls on their face or something like that. Or wait to attack for the proper time when the enemy stumbles and they're not expecting a fight. Maybe withdrawing from involvement while you get your ego in check could be another way to put that. And then the changing line 4.
Taoist teaching, I think.
Changing line 4 of Hexagram 33. Withdrawal. A superior person who withdraws well is fortunate, an inferior person is not. Explanation. When strength is used flexibly and one can store away the yang energy when yin energy has just arisen, this is being good at withdrawal, without personal entanglements. Being as careful of life as of a jewel. In the last reading we got, it said that a jewel was granted because of crossing a line in a small way. But it could be lost because there was danger and you needed to watch your back because you might be stabbed in it and you could lose the jewel. It was called the celestial jewel. And then it brings this up again. Being as careful of life as of a jewel, not letting any yin energy subtly spring up in the heart. It is therefore good fortune for superior people. If inferior people are adamant in strength